Hi, it's about time. It's a long time coming. Let's go check out my video games library room. Come on. I'll start here with some of my fan art. Nice little sign right here, as well as Marvin the Martian guarding the door. Now let's go on in. I've been collecting for just over 2 years. I started in August of 2017. I decided that I want to become a video game collector, so that's what I did. Now, the very first thing that I want to show you is my Misfit shelf, what I call my Misfit shelf. This is all the games that I have that don't necessarily have their own shelf, either because I don't have enough of them, or it's because I'm not really that interested in collecting the whole set. So right here you can see I have a lot of CDI games. Now I got a really good deal on CDI at a convention that I went to in August of 2019. And the guy just said, here, take it all for a certain amount of money. And I said, you know what? I might as well. So I got CDI on here. I've got things like 3DO, Wonder Swan, and a TurboGrafx 16 and a TurboGrafx CD game by Working Design. And this one right here is the only arcade board that I have, and that's Time Killers, an old fighting game from way back in the day. I used to play this game a lot when I was in Las Vegas, and I knew I had to have it as soon as I saw it. I got it for really cheap. So also on this is I have a lot of imported games, so things like GameCube, Nintendo 64, Super Famicom and Famicom games, all from the Japanese area. I'm not interested in collecting for full sets in Japanese, mainly because I can't read Japanese. Also on this shelf, I have a couple of Japanese Game Boy games, some Atari Lynx games, a couple of N-Gage games, and the only Intellivision game that I own so far, and this one right here is my wife's favorite game. It's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for the Intellivision. It's kind of cool. And a couple of arcade games and a couple of Atari games, nothing too exciting. But that's what I call the Misfit shelf. Moving on over here, this is my Sega shelf, and it has everything that I have that's related to the company of Sega. It starts with Sega Master System, and then it moves on over into Game Gear. Below that, I have Sega Genesis, and then Sega 32X, Sega CD, and Sega Saturn, and last but not least, my Sega Dreamcast area. I have a couple of boxes up here, nothing too terribly exciting, but I am a newish collector. It's kind of hard for me to find games and game boxes for the older system. Now over here, I have what I'd like to call my Pokemon Shrine. This Pokemon Shrine will interchange. I can take all of the Pokemon stuff down and put up something different. I want this to be more of a rotating thing rather than just staying a Pokemon related deal. And the reason for that is I like to celebrate all types of games and gaming, and it doesn't have to be just one type. So for now, because I just set this up, it's all Pokemon related. Thank you, Pokemon Sword and Shield, for coming out. You gave me the inspiration to do that. Right below my Pokemon Shrine, I have what I call my trade shelf. It's been forever since I've been able to get rid of my duplicates, and clearly it's full. I gotta get rid of some of this stuff. So I'm gonna be doing a Facebook sale. Maybe I'll do it on Twitch. I haven't quite decided yet. But if you like my page on Facebook, Pocket Full of Games, you'll be able to see it there. This is my PC games area. My PC games area has, on the bottom half, all of my physical copies of any PC games that I've collected for a while. It has things like the original Warcraft Orcs and Humans that I have from way back in the day. It also has things like all of my World of Warcraft collector's editions and any of the smaller box stuff. I do have a couple of games throughout this games library that's signed by developers, and I really treasure these. These are really amazing to me. Not to mention, Hegemony is a really great game on PC. Find it on Steam. Up top here, I have a whole bunch of console-related games that are a little bit too big to fit on a standard DVD shelf. I'm just kind of keeping them there to put them all in one place. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about my windows here. I have two huge sliding glass doors in the games library, and the sun, when it's daytime, it beats right down. Now I have a concern about fading, so what I've done is I've actually tinted these. These have 99.99% UV protection on them, and you can tell between here and here that this is definitely tinted. It's also mirrored on this side so that people can't see in. That was really important to me as well. I'd like to talk to you about what I like to call my Nintendo wall. Up here, first and foremost, and this is a shout out to a dear old friend of mine named Dennis, is Rob the Robot. I put him in the corner of this room so that he can watch over and guard this entire room. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate you. Over here is my regular Nintendo area. Now, the original NES is one of my first consoles when I was growing up. I'm that old, but that's okay. There were a lot of games that I played back in the day that really got me into gaming, I'd like to think. So things like Black Bass, Casino Kid, Cobra Triangle. I'm going for all of the games that I used to play when I was a kid. A lot of these games that are in boxes are ones that really had an influence on me as a gamer. River City Ransom is a prime example of that. I absolutely love this game. It's one of my favorites on the system. I am going for a complete set of regular Nintendo games, but since I've only been collecting since August of 2017, it is very challenging. And living where I live in North Carolina, there's not a whole lot of retro video game stores where I can just pop in and say, hey, where's your Nintendo games? Let me see them. And then say, oh, you mean Wii? It's kind of frustrating. Down here, I have Super Nintendo, or SNES. Now, this was also another very influential system that I had growing up. A lot of these games that are front-facing meant something to me from my childhood. So things like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 2 and 3. I'm looking at Rock and Roll Racing, which is actually a Blizzard title, believe it or not, from those of who made World of Warcraft or Diablo or something of that nature. And then all of these other games I really enjoyed when I was growing up. Below that, I have some Nintendo 64 games, and yes, I'm also going for a complete set of this. You wouldn't believe how difficult it is to try to find any sort of cartridge-based systems that are games. I have to sometimes and often go online to try to fill my collection. Down here with my Nintendo 64 games, I have a lot of other forward-facing games that mean a lot to me. Also, I have a signed copy from the developers of this game, Indie Racing 2000. I picked this up when I was traveling all around the country. That was one of the benefits of my job, is I got to fly everywhere and go to all the retro video game stores. A lot of this came from not North Carolina, but other places around the country. Down here, I've decided to go ahead and also go for a complete set of Nintendo GameCube. I have a lot of GameCube games. Even though I didn't play this much when I was a kid, I still recognize the GameCube as being a pioneer in a lot of technological advances. And I'm talking about microphone support. I'm talking about the small DVD size. I thought it was a really good entry into the CD era for Nintendo. And even though it didn't sell as well as their other consoles, it still holds a special place in my heart for innovation. Over here I have a signed copy of, and you're going to start to see a theme here, another Atari game, or Infogrames, which is actually was owned by Atari. A lot of developers worked on that as well. But I'm going for a full set here. I am able to get a couple of the rare ones out of the way. Believe it or not, that's a rare game, and I finally got it. It's paid a lot for it, but it's finally in my collection. Moving on to Wii. Now, a lot of people would wonder, Jason, why are you actually trying to go for a complete set of Wii? And the answer is, I'll tell you in a minute. With Wii, these are a lot easier for me because GameStop still sell Wii games. So it's really easy for me to pick these up. It's nice for somebody who's kind of new to collecting to be able to go into an actual retail store and check against my database to try to find out, hey, I don't have this game, let me go ahead and pick it up if it's complete. I do have some notables in here, things like Metroid Prime Trilogy, Steelbook, Dokapon Kingdom for the Wii, and several others. I'm nowhere near a complete set for the Wii, however, I do have one complete set in this whole entire room, only one complete set, and that is the Wii U, all down here. I have every game that has ever been produced for the United States for the Nintendo Wii U. I absolutely love the fact that this was my first complete set. I know that it's not something to brag about, but it means a lot to me, and it will always have a special place in my heart that this was the very first set that I completed. That's really exciting. I present you with the Xbox aisle. I don't have them on walls yet because, well, I've had too many games. So here I have the original Xbox, and over here I have Xbox 360. Now the original Xbox, I actually was going through college when the Xbox was released, and one of the presents that I got from my elder brother after the first semester when I got all A's was the original Xbox. So this system kind of holds a special place in my heart, and I wanted to make sure and go for the complete set for the original Xbox. A couple of notables here are, I have a signed copy from, you guessed it, another Atari game, Mission Impossible Operation Surma. I am going for a complete set of the original Xbox, and I'm also going for a complete set for the Xbox 360. There's not a whole lot of games for the original Xbox or the Xbox 360 that really stand out. Yes, they made some exclusives, but not a whole lot of them. However, because the Xbox is more powerful than the PlayStation 2, I tend to lean more towards buying everything for the original Xbox rather than the PS2 if it was on both consoles. For the Xbox 360, I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to find everything that I need to be happy with this set. Obviously, I'm going for a complete collection, but there are a couple of the games that are out there that I'm having trouble finding. Hopefully, without too much more effort, I'll be able to complete this set in no time. A couple of notables here, because I live in North Carolina, it's really easy to find games made by Epic Games, and right here I have a signed copy of Gears of War 2 Limited Edition by Epic Games. I thought that was really neat, and I picked that up from a local video game store not too terribly far away from me. I thought that was pretty neat. But this is what I'm trying to do, go for complete sets. One other thing that I want to point out that I have a special place in my heart for is, this is the only version of the Platinum Hits for Mortal Kombat Deception. You can only get this as a in shrink and sealed with this sticker right here, not available as a Platinum Hit. This is the only recorded way to get the Platinum Hits version of Mortal Kombat Deception. If I were to remove this shrink, it would just be a regular copy of Mortal Kombat Deception. They never actually made it with the Platinum Hits cover like this one here. So there is a big difference, and these are kind of hard to find. I was lucky enough to get a copy of this. Pretty happy about that too. Over here I have my handheld area. Now, this is specifically the Nintendo handheld area. We'll start up here with a bunch of consoles that I have, going all the way back to the original Game Boy, and moving all the way forward to the new Nintendo 3DS XL. I have several different types of handhelds. Though I'm not what I would consider to be a console collector, I still want a way to be able to play any game that I have in my library. So I have everything from original Nintendo, including the Game Boy Micro, which I absolutely love. This thing is super sharp. I love it. Over here, I have created, because it's so hard to find, Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games and even Game Boy Advance games with the original boxes. I have created some custom cases for each one so that at any point in time, I can just pick up the box, look at the back, and see, hey, maybe I want to play this game. So I even have spines to be able to better see which games are on my shelf. I truly enjoy doing that, though it does cost me quite a bit of money to be able to get all of my Game Boy games in custom cases and print out the covers. Still, it's a labor of love, and I love doing what I'm doing. I do have a couple of Game Boy Advance games in their original boxes here, and then I have a whole bunch of custom cases for Game Boy Advance, and then we move on to DS and 3DS down at the very bottom. One of the cool things that I have about the 3DS is I still have a couple of these from the Nintendo Club, and I actually purchased these with my own Nintendo points. They're really nice to be able to hold 3DS and DS cases. With reversible cover art and everything, it's really fun to have. Moving on to the Vita and the PSP section here. This is what I would like to call my Sony handheld area. Now, up here I have PSP, including this one right here, Lunar Silver Star Harmony. One of my favorite games of all time is the Lunar series, and I'm trying to get every single Working Designs title. Whereas that may not be a Working Designs title, it's still really nice to have. Down here I have the Vita. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a handheld gamer. However, I do like to celebrate all things video game related, so I might as well go for a complete set of Vita as well. Now we get to one of the most favorite things that I have in my video game library, and that's my PlayStation wall. First up, PlayStation 1. This is one of the most important video game systems to me. This had a lot of influence on me when I was a teenager. I just gotten out of high school, and this gaming system really grabbed my attention. I absolutely love it. I put probably the most amount of time, effort, and energy going for a complete set of PlayStation 1. What a chore. Over 1,400 games just for the United States alone. It's a lot of work, a whole lot of time, effort, and energy spent into that. Some of the notables from this system are my favorite games of all time, Lunar Silver Star Story and Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. Never mind the fact that they're also Working Designs titles, and I'm definitely still trying for that full set of Working Designs. Another one is my favorite game on the TurboGrafx was remade into the original PlayStation, Military Madness, or Nectaris as they called it there. I absolutely love this system. There's so many great games, some wonderful RPGs on this system, and who could forget the classics like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy Tactics, Chrono Cross, so many great games on this system. Moving down a little bit, we go for my PlayStation 2. I am this close to 1,000 games on PlayStation 2. However, going for a complete set of this, very challenging, especially nowadays. GameStop's not selling them anymore, gotta resort to buying online because of where I'm located. However, there are a ton of games. Now, when I first got the PlayStation 2, I was working at a place called Funko Land. Funko Land was bought out by GameStop, but I got to work during the launch of the PlayStation 2, so this also has a special place in my heart. I remember people coming in to buy Summoner and Smuggler's Run, and it was just a great time for me in my retail career. Probably one of the only times, though. So going for a complete set of this as well. I do have some notables here. I got some of the hard to get ones out of the way. Things like Rule of Rose is in my collection, as well as Haunting Ground in my collection. So I got a couple of the hard to find ones out of the way already. It's just really taking me a lot of time and effort to try to come up for a complete set. Down here I have my PlayStation 3 area, and this area is a little bit easier. Why? It's easier to find them because GameStop still carries them. So this is, while it's easier, there's still a lot of games that I am very much struggling to find. Rambo, El Chavo Kart, which was only released in Mexico, but still part of the North American retail set. There's a lot of games that I need to get my hands on, and I'm up for the challenge to go for that complete set, but it's going to take a lot more effort out of me. Now we move on to the second room. We've already covered 500 square feet of gaming library area. Let me take you to my games room. Come on. Right here, I have my strategy guides. I'm not really going for any strategy guides in particular. I just go for stuff that I find interesting or that maybe I want to look at while I'm trying to play the game. Up on the top, I have some working design strategy guides, and I'm very interested in owning the complete set for that. Still looking for that Ark the Lad collection. Over here I have my Amiibo wall. Now, I'm not going for a complete set of Amiibos. I'm not looking to collect for Amiibos, but here they are. I just pick them up when I feel like it. It's just one of those things. I'm not really trying too terribly hard. Here I have my Xbox One area, and this includes the box for my Project Scorpio edition of my Xbox One and all of my Xbox One games. I feel like I'm neglecting this system because it's not very full comparatively speaking to everything else. I'm doing what I can. Over here I have empty cases where if I find a game loose, I could just go ahead and throw it in a case. If I find a game with a crappy case, I can replace the case. That's what these two are for, is to just get them into a case and do replacements where needed. Right here, I have what I consider to be my controller station. I have all these wireless controllers hooked up and charging at all times so that at any point in time, I can play any game I wish. And this is what I absolutely love about it, is all of my controllers are fully charged and ready to go anytime I want to play a game. Right here I have my shipping area and my fixing area. Pardon the mess, I have a couple of things here, but I have a nice little countertop area where I can do any sort of resurfacing with my JFJ Easy Pro. This thing's a lifesaver, especially when you're finding stuff on the at garage sales and whatnot. If it's a little scratched up, I can go ahead and fix it up and it plays just fine. I have a postal scale for weighing games that I might be selling, and a thermal impact printer for, not an impact printer, I'm sorry, a thermal laser printer for printing off shipping labels, and who doesn't need some coffee from time to time. Right here I have my fridge, just in case I want to grab a snack or a drink, and my Steel Battalion box for the original Xbox. I haven't played it yet, paid a lot of money for it. Glad it's in the collection, but one of these days I'm going to break it out and we're going to see how it plays. I can't wait for that. Over here, I have a 36-inch Sony Trinitron TV, CRT. It's for light gun games. I really want to make sure that this can house any standard game I need, but it also has component input for things like PlayStation 2 light gun games. I wanted to make sure it got the right TV for what I needed it for, and this thing works great. I paid $0 for it. The lady just wanted it out of her house, and it's a 36-inch. I love this thing, and I'm glad it's in my collection. Looking at a true labor of love, and that is my Toys R Us display shelf. When Toys R Us went out of business, I was lucky enough to buy 2 of their display cases, where these 2 cases probably served millions of kids during their lifespan. So happy to have these in my collection. It was a bear to move them from Columbus, Ohio, all the way to North Carolina, but they're here now, and they're going to be here to stay. Right here I have my Nintendo Switch collection. I have a couple of notables here. Most notable are probably my signed copies of River City Girls and Night Trap from Limited Run. I truly enjoy having the signed copies in my collection. Other than that, I have a couple of Nintendo Switch systems. I have the Pokemon Switch Lite, as well as the Let's Go Pikachu version of the Nintendo Switch as well. This is super easy for me to get a hold of because they're available everywhere. Amazon, Best Buy, GameStop. I could pick these up like there's no tomorrow. And it's really nice to have stuff like that. What's interesting about the Nintendo display case is I managed to pick up a couple of things on the top shelf here that you'll find pretty interesting. Fire Emblem 3 Houses Collector's Edition, and then we're looking at development discs for the Nintendo Wii, which I'm really excited about. Next to it is a development kit for the Nintendo GameCube. I found this in Dallas, Texas when I was traveling, and it came with a NR game, which is the Clash of Ninja 2 Naruto game. I also managed to pick up an NR game for Gladius and Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. These are gold versions of the game. They were for review only, but the Naruto game was actually helped developed on that particular GameCube. The person worked for Bandai. They didn't want it anymore. They sold it to a local video game store in Dallas. I was able to pick it up and fly it back with me. Over here I have a PlayStation 4 area, and this has a couple of signed copies as well. Revenge of the Bird King, which I was able to get in person, and Night Trap, the 32X cover for that, which was really nice. I also have prototypes or review copies of PlayStation 2 games, a PlayStation 3 test unit, another PlayStation 2 game, and the most favorite thing that I have in all of my collection is this unreleased copy of Virtuoso. It was never released for the public, never made it out of production. This is an alpha version of this original PlayStation game, and it's wild and crazy. Look up gameplay sometime, you'll find it on the original Xbox. It's actually a really crazy game. Other than that, obviously going for a full set for PlayStation 4, I'll get there someday, God willing. Where the actual game playing happens is right here. We're looking at my 65-inch LG C8 OLED TV. Paid a lot of money for it. Man, games look so good. I have every single one of these consoles hooked up to it. Yes, including the Dreamcast, my analog Mega SG with HDMI, my fully hardware backwards compatible 60 gig PS3, my Wii U, my original Xbox, and an Xbox 360. All of these are tied to this anti-vampirism power switches, so they're not even drawing power because I've cut the power entirely. I'll have to press this button to turn on the corresponding system and then press the power button on that actual system for it to get power. Only then will it actually turn on. So I'm not draining power even when the system is off. The Xbox Original is notorious for stuff like that. If you guys have an Xbox Original hooked up to your TV, make sure you put it on an anti-vampirism power switch. It'll save you a little bit on your electricity bill. All of these systems are also hooked up to this auto switcher 1080p HDMI system selector. I love this thing. It does auto switch, so it's constantly seeking, which is absolutely fine, but it handles the right side of my entertainment center with no issues whatsoever. Up top here, I have my God of War version of the PlayStation 4 Pro. I have my Nintendo Switch. This is the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee edition, and my Project Scorpio Xbox One X. On the left-hand side here, same song and dance, only we're looking at a PlayStation Classic that's been heavily modded, an original Wii that's been soft modded, a Japanese Nintendo 64 with an HDMI mod in it, as well as an EverDrive for me to play all of the games that I currently own. An HDMI hard modded GameCube, a analog Super NT with an SD to SNES, and a retro USB AVS with its own flash drive in it as well. All of these are tied to the same type of thing, anti-vampirism power switch and 1080p HDMI system selector. To get sound out of here, you're looking at Hulk speakers. I have 5.1 surround sound throughout this entire room, so that everybody can enjoy the true surround sound, especially in the games that support something like surround sound. I really wanted that to happen. It's all connected down here to my Denon 3400H receiver that allows for 7.1, but I only have it routed for 5.1 now. Last but not least, I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/pocketfulofgames, and this is where I have my command center, where I do all of my streaming magic. I have Cat up on this 37-inch TV, and I control everything down here. This is where I can interact with everybody, and when people want to ask me questions about my collection, or have questions about what's in the box, I can pull a game off the shelf, and I can show whoever's asking that question. We all have a really good time. I do unboxing videos, I do a pickups videos, I do anything and everything. You have a question about my collection, come say hi to me on Twitch. Give me a follow and just hang around and let's talk about collecting video games. The full reason why I'm collecting what I'm collecting, I actually am going for the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest privately owned video game collection. I've only been collecting for just over 2 years. We'll see what happens. Till next time, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing. Take care.